The following are based on true events, according to their authors. I'm a karaoke DJ. I usually get home between 2 or 3 a.m., but tonight I got off around 11 because the bar had a power outage. I live alone in a triplex behind a house. I live in the middle of a city, but the property I'm on is rather large, so there is a big backyard behind my apartment. Anyways, as I was coming home tonight, I noticed that my cats weren't waiting for me in the window. They can hear my van pulling in the driveway. They are in the window every night, no exception. I thought it was quite odd. Then I noticed that my kitchen light was on. I never leave my kitchen light on. At this point, I was a little freaked out. That's when I thought I saw movement in my kitchen. I immediately called 911. And the dispatcher told me to lock my van doors and remain in the vehicle and stay on the line. Officers showed up very quickly, maybe less than 5 minutes. They parked on the street and walked up to my van. They asked me to stay quiet and give them my house key. One officer went to the back of my apartment and the other used my key to unlock the door. When he opened the door, everything was quiet. Then he yelled really loud, telling someone to come out. I heard the police officer that was in my backyard start yelling, and then the other officer ran out to join him. At this point, all my neighbors had come outside and I was freaking out. It seemed like a long time, but then eventually they walked a cuffed woman towards me, and it turns out it was a Patreon that I had 86th this last weekend. I don't know how she found out where I lived. She was hiding in my bedroom closet with a very large knife and a bundle of rope. I don't even want to think about what would have happened if I had gone to bed with her, waiting for me. This incident happened to my mom before she had me, nearly over 20 years ago. She worked at a local pub. The pub mainly catered for fishermen as the town is on the coast of Western Australia, so she knew most of the people who would come in for drinks or a feed. However, every now and again, people from town would come in. She told me that one guy used to come in who she known from house parties around the place and always wanted to talk to her while she was working, and she would say sorry and keep doing her thing. One night, however, she finished work around midnight and walked home, which was a few kilometers away. She lived with a few housemates who were blokes, all good mates. When she got home from her shift, she decided to have a shower. Making her way back to her room, she realized her door was open, which is normally shut. All the guys were asleep, so she blew it off as wind or something. She laid down in bed to go to sleep, but something didn't feel right, and for reasons she can't explain to me, she felt the need to look under her bed. What she saw under the bed was the guy from the bar who had followed her all the way from her work. She tells me that she just stared at him for ages, and he didn't move, not even breathe, to the point she thought that he was dead. She went out the room calmly and went to one of the guys' room to tell them that she had a dead guy under her bed. They raced in with baseball bats to find the guy halfway out the window. He managed to escape, however, and run away. The police were called, and because they all knew who he was, the cops picked him up the next day. There's a small graveyard near my home in Michigan. About 2 years ago, a group of my friends and I went ghost hunting there. It was a warm night, clear skies, and I was raring to catch a ghost on my friend's camera or tape recorder. Even a cell phone video would do. The cemetery is less than an acre, so it didn't take long to scope out. We broke into groups of 2 and 3 and traversed the grounds. I wandered with a few people, changing from group to group. I felt restless. Usually when we were ghost hunting, we cracked wise, but nobody was saying much. A group near a tall monument, which was at least 7 feet high and shrouded in vines, called us over. There seemed to be a cold spot about the size and shape of a very tall man. I waved my hands through the air. It did feel a bit cooler, but that could have been my imagination. Everyone began taking pictures, claiming they could see a figure in the digital photos. I hung near the back of the group, not seeing anything. I still felt disquieted. I didn't want to be here. That was when a cold shock squeezed my hand, right between the web of flesh between my right thumb and forefinger. I cried out, yanking my hand away. It hurt. The cold radiated slowly off my hand, and I retreated towards the gate. I yelled to my friends, "I'm out. Something grabbed me. I'm out." I was quickly followed by the rest of the party, not so much because of my encounter, but nobody wanted to be in there anymore. It wasn't until the morning the bruise showed up. Deep in the meat of my hand. Not a bad bruise, not bad enough to turn black and blue, but definitely there, yellow and painful, right in the spot where I'd been grabbed by that cold hand. Since then, I have never set foot in that cemetery. This was back when I used to live on my parents' farm. First, a little explanation on how the farmyard was set up. The house is to the north, the barn to the south, the fuel tank to the east, and a little shed plopped right in the middle. My sister was looking out the kitchen window, which overlooks the barn and the rest of the yard, and told me to come see something freaky. I looked out, and there was a shadow moving back and forth slowly between the fuel tank and the little shed. I told her not to worry, since it was windy that night. It was probably a shadow that the yard light had cast. She said okay and went to bed. There were other nights when we would see this shadow, normal calm nights. We noticed that it liked to hang out near the fuel tank, so we joked and named it the fuel tank ghost. Would even play around and talk to it when we were fueling up machinery. We had never mentioned this to our parents or friends, because we didn't think it was actually a ghost, just a shadow that was cast from the yard light. Jump to a random summer night, 11 p.m. My best friend comes to pick me up. She's waiting outside for about 10 minutes before I get in the car. She looks to me and asks, "Why is your dad still outside? I thought your parents went to bed at 8 p.m. or something," which was quite true, early to rise, early to bed. At this point, I asked her, "What the hell are you talking about? Where is he?" And she pointed to the fuel tank. She said she saw a man walking by the fuel tank and just disappeared into the dark. No one fuels up after dark anymore.